With a rhythm like the waves and the beating of the heart, my yarns run through my fingers day and night and in between all the things that are called life. Just one more row and one more and one more. The soft and peaceful rhythm of the knitting provides opportunities to talk about life in general and knitting in particular. Through the work of our hands, our thoughts, feelings and dreams are manifested, and we make use of the valuable knowledge that has been passed down through generations. Let's make the world softer and warmer together, one stitch at a time. A warm welcome to Sofias Tales podcast. My name is Sofia Karlsson, and I am a knitwear designer, photographer, art historian, author and pilgrim from Sweden, but I have recently moved to Norway. Scandinavian knitting traditions are close to my heart. I have been knitting since I was a child, and I haven't stopped since. You can find my patterns on Ravelry and in my book, that is currently only available in Swedish, but I am hoping for a translation soon. On Patreon, I share additional and exclusive content for my patrons. You can find all the links below. A warm welcome. Let's start a new episode of this podcast. Hello, and a warm welcome to a new episode of Sofias Tales podcast. It has been such a long time since I released something here on YouTube, but now I'm finally back. So much has happened since the last episode. Me and my husband have moved from Sweden to Norway, and it has been an adventure. It has taken so much time and energy, but now we have landed here, and I am looking forward to share more of our life in this new country with you. Norway is an amazing country to live in if you're into knitting, wool and yarn. In today's episode, I will share with you 2 of my new patterns that I have released, and I will also share with you more of what I have been doing and knitting on since the last episode. I will also talk a bit about all the tangled threads in our projects as well as in our lives. My husband is a priest in the Church of Sweden, and in February he got a new assignment to work in the Church of Sweden in Norway. There are many Swedes living in Norway, and the church is an important place to meet. I have earlier spent a lot of precious time here in Norway and already knew I loved this country. But it's one thing to visit and another thing to actually move here. Some people say we are brave, and maybe we are, but we just felt it was the right thing to do, and we do not regret it at all. We have felt most welcome, and it is an adventure on a perfect level of excitement for us, as Sweden and Norway are so close to each other, and our languages are very similar, so we can talk to each other in our own separate languages and still understand each other. This spring has been full of travels because of my work. I have been teaching knitting and having talks about my book and knitting and health in Sweden, Norway, Austria and Switzerland. I was teaching in Vienna and at the Swiss Yarn Festival, and I had lectures at Osterøy Strikkefestival in Norway and also in Bergen, Oslo, southern Sweden and Dalarna. And in between all this I was really ill in a pneumonia. And then there was all the moving boxes that we needed to take care of, unpack and organize. So perhaps it's no wonder it took some time to get back to editing podcasts. I have shared some of my adventures during spring with all the traveling on my Patreon page. I have also shared a video from my new workspace here in our apartment, in our new home in Oslo.
In May, I had the great privilege of staying at Strand for 2 weeks. Strand is LNK's home. This house was built more than 100 years ago for LNK, who was a very interesting and famous author in Sweden. Strand is located by the lake Vättern, close to Vadstena at Omberg. And this is a place where I often go on pilgrimages and retreats. But I had never been to Strand before, and now I had the great opportunity of staying in this beautiful house for 2 weeks. I'm going to tell you more about that in a little while. LNK wrote, for example, this book, Barnets århundrade. It's been translated into many languages, and in English it's called The Century of the Child. With this book, LNK wanted to improve children's rights by social reforms and conditions of childhood through education and the recognition of children's rights. And this book was actually the start of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. LNK was an early advocate for children's and women's rights.
She established a scholarship that would give women the opportunity to stay at Strand after her death, and it would be like visiting her in her home, but she would not be at home anymore. The idea was that the women would recover and rest in the beautiful house and watch the sunset over Lake Vättern. They would be able to straighten themselves out, both spiritually and physically. I felt so proud to have received this prestigious scholarship. A close friend of mine said, "Sofia, this is so big, you could never buy this opportunity for money." However, I was so worried I would not be able to go because I had that awful pneumonia, but I managed to get well enough to go to Strand. I had 2 weeks there, where I could rest and work on new patterns and also on my writing in this amazing house by the Lake Vättern.
But what have I been knitting on and what's on my needles now? I'm going to show you. Last spring I released a pattern called the Stella Mittens, and I really love this traditional mitten with sophisticated details. I got the inspiration from the roof in our church, a really beautiful wooden roof. And the instructions, the pattern comes with instructions for both half a mitten and a mitten. I have embellished them with some embroidery done with chain stitch after the mitten was finished knitting. And there's a lining in a contrast color, and I have also decorated it with knitting in my name and the year I knitted the mittens. There's a picot border and a thumb gusset and a special pattern for the thumb. I really, really love the Stella mittens, and I'm looking forward to see what colors you're going to use when knitting them. I have also recently released the pattern Little Boat. And to celebrate the release of this sock pattern, I will give you a 15% discount using the code Sofias Tales in one word. If you're a patron, you will get a coupon code for a 20% discount on all my patterns on Ravelry until the 15th of September. So I hope you will enjoy knitting the little boat socks as much as I have. I'm actually working on my second pair right now in a more turquoise colorway. And right now, this weekend, my husband is away working in Trondheim all weekend. And I have really dived into my work of producing a new podcast and knitting. And I have been working almost 24/7. No, I've been sleeping a bit, but I've been up very late in the evenings. And yesterday night, I was sitting knitting on this leg, and suddenly I realized, while watching a picture that I had taken earlier in the day, that there was something wrong with one of the waves. So I had to decide. This was very late after midnight, and I was so tired after working all day. I had to decide whether to unravel this or to keep it. Sometimes it's nice to keep your errors as a reminder of something, of acceptance perhaps of your own faults, or a happy reminder. I have a friend who once told me that she was knitting a cardigan and she made an error on the sleeve. And she decided to keep that error, even though it at first annoyed her. She wanted to keep it as a memory of the happy evening when she was knitting on the sleeve. I thought that was such a lovely story. But after contemplating a while about my sock and my waves, I decided to unravel it. And I have never, ever regretted unraveling a project. It's a bit like, in life. Sometimes you have to decide whether to let things be as they are, or maybe go back and correct some errors and fix the mistakes. And I felt in this case that it would bother me and it would be there forever, just making me annoyed. So I decided to unravel it and started to work on the leg again. So it's going to take a while, but it's going to be worth it. I have used Arvetta for this turquoise colorway. And the blue ones I have knitted in a lovely non-superwash sock yarn that is hand-dyed, the two blue colorways. The other ones are my leftover yarn. I think it's the white and the red is Arvetta, the same as I have here. But the two main colors here, the blue ones, are hand-dyed by the Danish dye lot. I got to know two wonderful Danish sisters when I was at the knitting festival outside Bergen this spring. I have made a small film about this wonderful knitting festival, Strikkekrafts knitting festival at Osterøy, for my patrons. So there's some behind the scenes footage there. And I got this blue sock yarn in two colorways as a gift from this the Danish dye lot, and I really loved it. And it inspired me so much that I have actually designed 3 pair of socks with a marine theme. And this is the first out of 3 sock patterns, and the other ones are coming very soon, I promise. So I hope you will enjoy knitting the little boat sock as much as I have. Okay, so what's else? I'm also knitting on so many secrets still. That's the problem with being a designer. I can't always show you what I'm currently working on. But in this basket is a cardigan that I'm hoping to release at least before Christmas. And I've been working on it for a long time and I really, really love it. So it's exciting. I've been also I have been working on a sweater for I think 2 years. That's in the pipeline, as you say. But it's taking its time, and it's ready when it's ready. It's got to be good. I am also working on releasing patterns from my book on Ravelry. And I'm really looking forward to this, as my book haven't yet been translated into English, and I'm sorry to say I have no news yet about a translation of the book. I'm hoping for it, and my publisher is working on it, so we'll see what happens. But in the meanwhile, my ambition is to release patterns on Ravelry so that you who don't understand Swedish also can knit, for example, this cardigan that I made for the book. And right now there's a knit-along going on at a Norwegian podcast called Strikk på landet. It's Merete and Janne who are hosting this knit-along for this cardigan. And I'm so honored that they want to do that. Merete has been, she's my test knitter, and so she has knitted several cardigans in this pattern, more than I have. I have knitted 3, and I think she's on her 5th or something. So that's what's on my needles and my plans right now. In Norway, as well as in Sweden, my book is available at Adlibris, online bookshop. In Sweden, it's also available in the libraries and in most bookshops, and also at my publisher's web store. And I will put all the links here below. So this autumn, I am going to Sweden to be teaching knitting at a retreat in Småland, like I did last year. And I'm doing this together with Britt Arnhild from Trondheim, and also with Eva Svensson from Småland, who is hosting this knitting retreat for the 2nd year in a row. And we had such a good time last autumn, so I'm so much looking forward to going back this year. I am also looking forward to spend time in the nature where I come from. I feel so connected to the rocks and the trees and the sea and the meadows, like they are a part of me. There is this German expression Heimat that means homeland, but in a wider range or deeper perspective. Heimat refers to a place towards which one has a strong feeling of belonging and a deep-rooted fondness. To me, it's the woods and rocks and meadows where I grew up in Sweden. Some years ago, I read John O'Donoghue's books Walking in Wonder and Eternal Echoes, Celtic reflections on our yearning to belong. And I could relate so much to what he was saying about the inner and outer landscape. I think we are shaped by the landscapes we are living in, and I often reflect upon how our sensory impressions, the things we watch, look at, listen to, feel and taste, are nourishment for our souls. It's so important what we feed our souls with, and our children's souls. With good nourishment, it might also be easier to handle hardships and worries, I think. A dear friend of mine, Sarah from Fibertrek, once taught me that worrying is wasted prayer. It really hit me, and in fact helped me to change my mindset in a period of my life when I was worrying a lot because I was exposed to really difficult things. But thinking like this and also acting upon it made my days so much better. Of course we worry sometimes. The world is full of things to worry about. But worrying doesn't help. Redirecting our worries into hopes and prayers might help. At least this is my experience. Worrying is wasted prayer. Well, I have been talking about this before in previous episodes, but I think it's so important to choose love over fear. If we base our actions on fear, it leads us in the wrong directions. We should always try to base our words and actions on love. And by focusing on love and truth, we will find strength to cope with the darkness that is also part of our lives. And I would like to read a page to you from this book, Walking in Wonder by John O'Donoghue, that illustrates this in such a great way. The best story I know about fear is a story from India. It is several thousand years old, and it is a story about a man who was condemned to spend a night in a cell with a poisonous snake. If he made the slightest little stir, the snake was on top of him and he was dead. So he stood in the corner of the cell opposite where the snake was, and he was petrified. He barely dared to breathe for fear of alerting the snake, and he stood stiff and petrified all night long. As the first bars of light began to come into the cell at dawn, he began to make out the shape of the snake, and he was saying to himself, "Wasn't I lucky that I never stirred?" But when the full force of light came in with the full dawn, he noticed that it wasn't a snake at all. It was an old rope. Now, the story is banal, but the moral of the story is very profound. In a lot of the rooms of our minds, there are harmless old ropes thrown in corners, but when our fear begins to work on them, we convert them into monsters who hold up us prisoners in the bleakest, most impoverished rooms of our hearts. And outside these rooms, there are glories waiting for us, but we remain transfixed in the panic of fear's awful falsity. I also find knitting helps me untangle my thoughts. Maybe it is something about grabbing the threads and making them slip through my fingers while I create warm and beautiful things with my knitting. I'm actually doing something. I get calm and focused when I knit, and I hope you feel the same. All the best to you, and keep on knitting. Let's make the world warmer and softer together, stitch by stitch.
If you want more inspiration and content, behind the scenes footage and special offers, you are most welcome to support my creative work on patreon.com/Sofias Tales. Here you'll find behind the scenes snippets from my travels and my home. I share recipes, tutorials, reflections and pictures. My patterns are available on Ravelry from a link below. Don't forget the coupon code Sofias Tales in one word to receive 15% discount on all my patterns until September the 15th, or 20% if you're a patron. You can also find me on Instagram as Sofias Tales and on Facebook as Sofias Tales, as well as in the Facebook group Sofias Tales Knit Along, where we knit my patterns and help and inspire each other. Thank you so much for watching, and a warm welcome back to my channel.